You're good.
Go. Go.
You're live.
Go. Get over here.
Ready, set, go.
Okay. So wait, somebody needs to see if anybody's popping on there so we'll know if this thing's working.
It is. It says live.
Okay. Okay, come over here then. Is anybody there?
I haven't seen anything yet. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So we are back. This is week 2. You'll notice I dusted off the orange shirt for the second week in a row. Keetons in the kitchen. This thing had hung in the closet. Every time I walked by, I shed a little tear for years. I broke this bad boy out last week. I dusted it all off, and it's back again. Tonight, we're going to do, this is year 1, season 1, episode 2, minute 1, second 30.
Roughly.
Okay, so tonight, we're going to do a pork piccata. Another thing you might notice is that I have the French beard, because I said it's piccata, and Sarah said it might be Italian.
That was after you shaved.
That was after I'd already cut it. Luckily, the Italians don't have a beard. I know this is French because I saw it in a movie one time. Mm-hmm. Steve Daly, our friend from over across the pond in England, come to my rescue. Hashtag Team Shawn. Tell her this is French. That piccata's French. So we're going to get this thing going. This will be a great, easy recipe. Super fast. You're going to love it. Kids are going to love it. Everyone's going to love it. Neighbors are going to love it. Everyone's going to love it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this pasta going. Now, one of the questions that I used to get, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
When I did all the cooking classes, and I was constantly talking cooking all the time, people used to say, I have trouble getting my food ready all at the same time. Pasta is one of the things that they tend to forget about when they're trying to plan. So you go, this recipe takes 15 minutes for the pork and 8 minutes for the salad dressing. Okay, so I need to do the salad dressing somewhere in between the pork. And then you forget that the pasta only takes 8 minutes, but the water takes 10 minutes to boil. At least. So you got to plan that in, because otherwise you're sitting here and everything's ready and, God, I'm waiting on my pasta.
And I've done that many a time.
Yeah.
Waiting on pasta.
I've actually forgotten the pasta in pasta dishes before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, until you get to the end, you're like,
and then I just put it on toast.
Hold for the pasta.
Okay, so Sarah's going to talk a little bit about this. We got our water going. That's just a big old pot of water.
That's all it is, and we're not to a boil yet. We're getting there. Last week we did mention, like in passing, that this is a gluten-free kitchen. Don't be scared. Don't log off. I've been gluten-free, 6 years?
50 years?
6 years, I think, and you've been well, you're not completely gluten-free, but it's been a gluten-free kitchen for almost 4. And it's not out of choice. It's like we're not granola. I'm gluten intolerant, so it's out of necessity. But anything that we're doing in our kitchen is gluten-free. But if there's any modifications that we need to make because it's gluten-free, I'll kind of speak to that. Otherwise, that's the difficult part. If you're using normal pasta, if you're using normal flour, that's easy. These are all modifications that I've had to make. And I'll speak to that. If it's not a big difference, then we'll just roll with it like it's normal.
So to get your water going for the gluten-free, she's got her water going.
And I will say this, when you're cooking gluten-free pasta, you want more water than you would typically, because I'm
going to bring this around there to show you.
So more water to pasta ratio. I just got a really full pot of water here.
That pot's really full.
So what I want to do, and this is, if I were just doing normal pasta, I would just add salt. So I go with like 2 teaspoons probably. Now because this is gluten-free pasta, I'm going to add olive oil because the gluten-free pasta gives off a little more starch. So this will help it keep from sticking together. Okay, and we're still not completely to a boil, so I'm going to put a lid back on here. I will talk a little bit about gluten-free pasta in case that's something you're interested in. From experience, you want to go with something that is not just a rice blend. You want to go with something that has corn in it. Corn is probably not the most nutritious option, but it has the best texture. So I usually use this brand. It's really easy to find. It's at Walmart, at Kroger. It's got white rice, brown rice, corn, and quinoa. So we're just going to wait for that to come up to a boil.
How long is that going to take when you get it going?
Well, if you're cooking normal pasta, it's usually about 8-9 minutes until it's al dente. If you're cooking gluten-free pasta, it's usually a little less than that. You kind of have to watch it. Probably more like 7-8 minutes. The only thing different that I do when it's gluten-free is when I go to drain it, I will go ahead and spray cold water on it to stop the cooking process. Gluten-free pasta is notorious from going from al dente to mush in about 3.3 seconds. So if I'm cooking normal pasta, I wouldn't rinse it for the simple fact that we have a sauce tonight and you want that pasta to soak up the sauce. If you rinse pasta, it kind of closes, what does it close? I don't know, it kind of closes it off from soaking up the sauce.
That's right.
So
I'm going to get out of your way while you make this dressing, right? You going to go ahead and drop this in? I'll do that.
it's not, it's not really quite boiled.
Okay, you go ahead and start on that.
Okay, so the other part that we're making tonight is we're gonna make a very basic Italian salad. I'm gonna make a very basic oil and vinaigrette. This is my basic dressing that I make all the time. So how I wanna start, now they're not gonna be able to see this, babe, so you might wanna bring the camera closer.
Okay.
So it is,
Hold on, I'm currently spilling pasta everywhere, so just kind of...
all right, I'll go ahead and get started on this. So what I do is I do half a cup of oil, and I'm gonna use one of these liquid measuring cups so you can just really, it's really easy to spot. So a half cup of oil, and then you're gonna do,
As crooked as I'll get out.
is it?
Well, I was. Okay, go.
Then you're gonna take,
Oh,
here we go.
somebody didn't tighten that up. Ah,
Did we lose it completely?
I don't know, but the thing wasn't tight.
All right.
This is a low budget operation.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so half a
Half a
cup of
cup.
oil, and then we're going to do 1/4 of a cup of acid or vinegar. So that acid or vinegar can be, tonight I'm using red wine vinegar. You can use lemon juice. You can use apple cider vinegar. I mean, there's just 1,000 options you can do. And then what I'm going to do is 1/4 of a cup, so the same amount of acid to sweet. 1/4 of a cup sugar. You can do sugar. I've done brown sugar before. I've done honey, maple syrup. Just kind of depends on what I want to do. Then you're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'm just really shaking some pepper in there. It doesn't really matter. It's just for flavoring. And probably about a teaspoon of salt. All right, so that is the basic recipe. You got 1/2 cup of oil, 1/4 of a cup of acid, 1/4 of a cup of sugar or sweet, some salt, some pepper. From here you can do all kinds of things. You could add crushed garlic, you could grate up ginger, you could put in Dijon mustard. Really, your options are limitless. You just want to give that a good whisk. And then the key, I think, and this is why I'm making it ahead of time, is after I've kind of whisked it up, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the refrigerator and let it kind of set up a little bit, because that will help emulsify it, help suspend the sugars in the fluid. Do you want garlic in it, baby? We can do some garlic.
If you want to put a little garlic in there, that'd be good.
Sometimes I'll put Parmesan cheese in it if I'm feeling frisky, I guess.
She crazy.
But, you know, the thing about it is you can play with this recipe. You can do all kinds of different options. It's just oil, acid, sweet. And, you know, if it tastes gross, you throw it out. You've spent roughly 1/4. So, you know, play with it. I've been doing this basic recipe different ways for years. And no chemicals, right?
That's exactly right.
All right.
So pop that in the fridge. Now our pasta's going, so hopefully you've got your water going. Let's go over here and take a look at this. It's
Not quite.
I had to put it in there. I had no choice. I'm the cameraman and the pasta cook.
I'm going to give it a little toss because pasta is notorious for trying to stick, especially if it's not got a boil going. We'll put the lid back on.
Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and turn this skillet on. That's just a regular skillet. I'm going to turn it on about medium heat just because I want this to start heating up. And I'm going to go over here and show you what we're going to do next. Now, you may have to hold this while I do this.
Okay.
All right, so what we got to do next is we're going to get this pork going because the pork needs to cook prior to us making the sauce and then putting it all back together. So what we've got is we've just got some boneless pork. If you've got chicken, that's fine. If you've got pork, that's fine. We've got a little bowl here. It's not a little bowl, it's a big bowl. I'm kidding. This just has flour and a little cornstarch in it. Half a cup of flour, give or take, a couple teaspoons of cornstarch, maybe a tablespoon. It doesn't really matter. Now, as long as you can bread these up, that's all that matters. So when you buy this, especially this boneless pork, you'll notice it has this rind along the side of it. I like to go ahead in this recipe, typically I leave that on there. In this recipe, I like to take this off. It just makes it cook a little bit easier, I think, and it makes it pound a little bit better. So we're gonna do that here in just 1 second. Now y'all are gonna see, if you're at home doing this, this recipe comes together super fast. So what I've got is I've got the pork here, and I cut that up with my trusty little knife. Now, there are multiple reasons why you pound your, I was gonna say meat. Why you pound your pork. That doesn't sound any better if I say pound your pork. The first reason is you've had one of those days at work, and when you come home, rather than get a domestic violence for giving your husband one of those, you want to take it out on some pork. The second reason is that it cooks faster, typically a little more evenly too, and it tenderizes it all at the same time. So what I'm doing is I'm just pounding these out, and this is not something you're going to spend a lot of time with. This pork's pretty thin already, so it would cook pretty quick to begin with. Give it a few of these on one side, turn it over, give it a few more on the other side, like so. Like so. Once you do that, you're going to take, pop them in this mixture of flour and cornstarch. Honey baby's acting nervous. What's going on?
I was just curious what type of oil you wanted in this pan.
Just a little bit of vegetable.
Is that fine?
Yeah, we don't need anything special. The specialty of this whole thing is the sauce. That flour just went everywhere. So we're just breading these up. You'll see this. We'll get Sarah over on the camera in just a minute. She's got a little bit of oil going in that skillet. I'm going to show you. That's only a couple tablespoons. You don't need a lot of oil for this. All we're trying to do is just cook these up. Because again, the star of this show is this sauce. That's super easy. All right. So all we did, I'm assuming you can see these, right? Huh? She's all better tossing her pasta.
I'm just making sure. Let's see.
So we got our...
Yeah, you're good, baby.
We got this. Okay, bring her over. I'm going to move that lettuce, probably.
Where do you want over?
I want you to show them putting this in the skillet so we can see this in the skillet.
All right, sorry about that.
All right, so we got our skillet here. There's just a little bit of oil in the skillet. There's not much at all. And basically, a lot of times, if you're wondering too, people ask me a lot of times, I put it in there and it sits there and does nothing. If you'll watch, your oil starts to shimmer. If you see that shimmer, you typically know that it's hot. Now you can put these in there like right now, and you can start to see this bubble up here a little bit. So you can see that's going. I'm going to wash my hands off here real quick. So we got those going. All we're going to do is brown those on both sides. What I'm going to do, hit these with a little bit of salt. You don't have to do this. There'll be salt in the sauce and stuff. I like to add a little bit on the meat. A little pepper.
Yeah, I think that's empty.
That's empty.
I got pepper behind you.
I got some right here. Just a little salt and pepper. This is a very simple recipe. So those are going right now. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to talk, our pasta's really boiling, so I'm going to turn that down because now it's going to be ready long before our meal if we're not careful. So what we got a couple of things that we're going to put together on this sauce real quick. There is flour everywhere. The first thing that I wanted to show, I use this knife on the pork, so I'll rinse it here real quick. I don't worry too much about this, but I do like to rinse it off a little bit. We've got some carrots that are going to go in Sarah's salad. And I'm going to show you here real quick why. So you've got basically two types of carrots you can buy. You can buy these little scrapper ones, or you can buy the regular old carrot. The reason why I like the bigger carrots, these little ones, so if I'm going to slice this up, and even if I've got a sharp knife, these things are super rolly. Can you see the board, you thinking?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll see these things roll around really bad. So basically what I'm left doing is trying to slice the ends off of them, which is fine unless you don't want that big of pieces. So if you go in here and you start trying to cut this, this knife wants to roll around on it. On a bigger carrot, you can hold it a little bit better, and I'll show you why I like it. Now if I were going to do this and I wanted to go a little bit smaller with this small carrot, I'd slice it in half, hold it together, and then slice. So then I've got some smaller pieces. Just doing these for your salad. So. But I'll show you what I like to do on this big carrot. Now when you start, I think these are a little cheaper too if you buy the full size one. Go ahead and cut off both ends, and if you want to kind of rake these sides a little bit, everybody used to always scrub them and scrub them and scrub them. Just use your knife blade. Go down the sides of these, take off a little bit of this outside, throw it in your compost bowl. The nice thing about this, if I really want these in small pieces, so in our tall salad, we don't want these big old chunks of carrots that I couldn't hardly get out of a small carrot or get away from. What I want to do is I want to take this large carrot, typically they'll have a flatter side. So let them go till they stop, hold them down. I'm going to make a slice and another slice. Now, if you're looking at this at home, these are my cuts. And then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and I'm going to make one cut in the other side of it. So now, when I come back to cut this, I have these little quarters. Keeping my fingers and my thumb, push that knife blade right up against your fingers. So I've got these quarters. That one didn't come out so great, but I've got these that are a whole lot smaller and a whole lot better texture in a salad. When you get to this point of it, lay it back flat again, find a spot. If it's getting too narrow for you to make two cuts in, make one. Rotate it 90 degrees, hold it together, make sure your knife's sharp so it cuts through it easy. Hold that knife blade against your fingers, move the carrot up, or move your fingers down, one of the two. And then you've got these really small pieces that are a whole lot better in something like a tall salad than what you'd want if you just go in here and just cut off big old rings of this thing.
I've pasta already.
Alright, so Sarah's flipping that. Our pork looks like it's probably ready on this one side. We'll get this camera over here. This is really coming together quick. Sarah's draining the pasta. Bring that over. We'll show everybody what this looks like. A little bit of brown on them. Perfect. Again, we don't have to get a whole lot of texture out of this. This is really what we're going for. We're going to slice this up anyway. What we're going for is this sauce. So while that's getting ready, I'll show you these lemons here real quick. We have multiple ways that we can juice out these lemons. We were supposed to have 3. Our daughter last night decided she needed a half a lemon for something. So tonight's recipe calls for 2 1/2.
Half a lemon was required.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know what for, but it was obviously required.
She needed it worse than we did. There are multiple styles of these little juicers. You can actually do this over your skillet, but you need to make sure you don't end up with a bunch of seeds in there. So, just take your lemons, roll them out for a minute, release a little bit of that juice, slice them in half. We've got this plastic one here, it does the same thing. Probably gets a little bit more juice. It'll actually set on the bowl, but you tend to kind of squash this thing if you're not careful. And then of course you got the good old fashioned, we don't have a lemon juicer. So we'll just do it by hand. That one got a lot more juice, but Anyway, you can do this and then pick the seeds out at this point. So if you're following along, you came in maybe a little bit late. All we did was boil the water, get our pasta going in the water. We pounded out our pork. We got it going. Sarah showed her dressing. You can go back and watch this.
I'm gonna pull this.
Okay, she's pulling out the pork. Now here's where everything comes together super fast and super easy. You're gonna love this. I got a little seed in there, but I don't care about that. So leave your skillet on medium high, pull your pork out. What you wanna do is get a paper towel. We don't want this to be too awfully oily. So what we're gonna do here is, we got all of our lemon juice. That's the juice of 2.5 lemons, so that's half to 3/4 of a cup, according to how big your lemons were. We've got some garlic here. I'm gonna smash this out just so I can throw a little garlic in this. Give these a rough chop. Don't spend a lot of time doing this. This is an easy, quick recipe. You don't want to spend a lot of time on these little particulars. You know what? I'm gonna do 2.
I do 3.
Oh! And that's why I married you.
I'm over here. I'm just making salad. It's
Toss them all together. It's just a salad. It's nothing more. Nothing to see here, folks. Step away.
Uh-oh.
That's another one of our little gadgets. That's the onion keeper.
It's really good.
So we just pick these garlic cloves out of here. Knock the ends of them off. Give them a rough chop. That's all we want. So, if Sarah, I'm going to get this piece of carrot off the floor, not for her salad, but for that. If you will bring this camera over here, we're going to show this all come together. This is fixing to get crazy. So gather up my garlic. You got it right here. I'm going to set this right here. Will you grab me a fork too? So you might want to set that on here so we can see it. What I'm going to do is be very careful if you're doing it this way. You can just drain this skillet out. Be very careful if you're going to do this, but this is what I like to do. I don't want all this oil in this dish. So I'm going to come in here with this paper towel. If you have a gas stove, don't hold this over the flame. Come in here and see if you can get some of this oil out the easy way. I don't want to have to dirty up another dish to get this oil out. So basically what I've got is some of the brown bits that were on there, and I've soaked up that oil. I've got somewhere here my capers. This is going to be about a teaspoon of capers. If you want to do a few more, that's fine. I like capers, so I'll put a few extra in there. What you want to do, here's a little tip for you anytime you're using capers. If you'll take something, you can use a potato masher, you can use a fork, you can use something like anything you can, a back of a spoon. Smash these up, and you're just going to extract that much more flavor out of it. So all we've got is our brown bits and our capers. We've got our wine here. This is a $8 bottle of wine. It's just a $8 bottle of Chardonnay. I hear people say all the time, don't cook with any wine you wouldn't drink. Well, what if you don't drink wine? Basically the long and short of that. So, real quick I'm going to drop my garlic in here. A couple of garlic cloves. 3. Just want this to get fragrant. That's only going to take a couple seconds. I think I already threw one piece out. Got a little butter here. I'm going to throw this butter in. This butter really creams this up. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait till not the end, but a little bit closer for this. So basically we got our garlic and our capers. Those will come up good. Get that garlic just a little more cooked. Now I've got my wine. You can measure this out. If you're one of these people that really want to measure a lot of things, measure this out. A cup of wine. I'm just going to pour it in here. That's roughly a cup, give or take. So you notice when that came up, now we're deglazing our pan. All of our little brown bits came right up. That's hot. I need something other than a fork for doing that. Anyway, give me one of them.
What do you need, baby? There you go.
It's hot on the old finger. The heat's on right at medium on this, so I'm stirring this all around. Now, typically in recipes, and you'll see this as we do some in the future too, you kind of want to reduce this wine down about half. On this recipe, I'm not doing this because I want a little extra sauce. All I want that to do is cook off a little bit of that alcohol real quick. I'm going to add my lemon juice. Again, that was the juice from 3 lemons. I got to bring this back up to temperature. Oh, I hope you're doing this at home because this kitchen literally smells fantastic right now. I'm going to hit this with just a little bit of salt. It's maybe a half a teaspoon. You always can salt it at the table. Don't over salt your food at this point because then you get there and you can't get the salt out, and if it's too salty, then you're kind of just stuck with it. Hit this with a little pepper. So we've got our lemon juice, our wine, our garlic, our capers. Just bringing this back up to temperature. What I want is this to come up to a light simmer. Oh man.
That does smell good, baby.
That's good. So when this comes up here, I've got some butter. I usually do, if you're going to put butter in there, go for it. You know what? Who knows? We're in COVID-19. We only got who knows how much time. Put the butter in.
I'd wait. I'd let it boil a little bit.
You kind of want to get it to a simmer. Just keep all those mixed up. And this butter is going to cream this up a lot. So get this. You can turn your heat up a little bit higher if you're impatient. Like me. You get that good simmer going on that. This is 3 tablespoons of butter. It's a pretty good guess, really. So you want this to melt throughout here. You kind of don't want to just throw it in there in a big hunk. So if you melt it ahead of time, if you melt it here, just sort of give this a little swirl. And you'll notice how you're getting this where this butter is melting. It's kind of creaming this recipe up a lot. So just swirl this around. Like so. Boy, I'll tell you, this is going to be good. Now, typically, too, when you cook with wine, you're going to kind of get all that acidity down to more of a sweetness. This recipe doesn't need that sweetness. So you're putting the acid in of the lemon juice, and you're putting the acid into the wine. But with this pork, it's going to work fine, and you're not really going to have to do what you might do in a lot of recipes where you really cook that down. We'll probably do a roast or something one of these days, and I'll show you how we really reduce that wine and we cook it way down. But now, if you like a sauce a little bit thicker, at this point right here, you can add a little cornstarch to this or a little flour. Give that a good stir around. And that would thicken this up. I like it a little bit thinner for this particular recipe because we want it to go down in our pasta. So we got our pork here. We're going to add it back to the pan. There you go, babe. What I want to do is, I want to heat this back up. I want to toss a little of this sauce over the top of it. You can taste this sauce and see on your salt and your pepper. Give this a second. It's going to have to heat up here. You'll see that's really starting to boil out there. We can get us a little spoon. So we throw this sauce over here. We'll turn this over in just a sec. Give it a little shot. Just be really careful because it's super hot. So.
You're looking for salt and pepper? I'd add a pepper, probably no salt.
Okay, a little bit more pepper. So just toss this over top here for just a sec. All we're doing is heating this pork back up. Sarah says a little more pepper, so we'll hit that with a little more pepper. Toss this over the top. Get your sauce going good. We'll need plates or bowls, one of the two, for setting this pasta in so we can set this over top of it. Okay. This is basically done at this point. So that's how fast this went. If you had everything, if you just had everything and you took it all together, this is a half-hour recipe that really wows people. So I'm going to turn the heat off. I know those are heated up enough. We're going to scoop this out a little bit of pasta.
Let's bring it back over here, I think, and
okay.
then do it all.
Do it all over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So meanwhile, and I know that's not fair because there's 2 of us and there's not always 2 cooks in the kitchen, but I was just making a basic salad. It's got tomatoes, red onions, carrots, cucumbers, lettuce. I'm going to go ahead and put some Parmesan cheese over the top. Okay. Shawn is, let me see if I can get this all together here. Shawn is putting the pasta on a plate.
Dang, it's hot. Lay our pork on there. Like so. Put this on there. We take all of our sauce. Make sure you get all these goodies that are on the bottom of this, because that's where a lot of your flavor's at. And that's why you want a little extra wine and a little extra butter and a little extra, what's the other kind I use? Wine and butter and...
Capers.
Capers, no.
Garlic.
Lemon juice.
Lemon juice.
Okay. So we got it like so. Let me see here. Let's move. That's not the Chardonnay, by the way. Let me get a knife and a fork. Sarah's got her dressing for her salad. We're going to slice this here real quick. Get some of this pasta that's down in here with all this good juice. Sarah's going to put that dressing over the salad. Try to get the pasta on here. I even blow her food. I'm practically chewing this food for her.
I'm not using all of it, by the way. That'd be crazy.
I'm already blowing it. You gotta trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me have a little try of this too. And that's how quick and easy you can put together this pork piccata. You can use chicken. Use whatever else you want. I don't know. I've never tried anything else.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
That's outstanding.
Have it all on the chin.
And that's how easy it is to get pork piccata on a French beard. Make this pasta dish. Make this salad. Serve your family. We started at 6 o'clock. It's 6:33. Half hour. Gosh, it's good.
It's very tasty.
Hope everyone enjoyed it. We'll drop some hints for the next thing coming up. Probably this weekend. Next week's going to be a big week. I used to watch Big Time Wrestling when I was a kid, and they'd say next week, big week.
Big week.
Big week. We're going to do something off the charts. I got a feeling. So we'll see you then.
Bye.
That's really good.
Tasty.